Well, hello everyone and welcome back to another Monday Night Racing here at the Valiant Racing League. And boy, is it going to be a good one. Last time out we were over in Monaco and we were treated to what was a fantastic race of attrition with some amazing strategies coming out on top, and we'll talk about it in a second, because this week we have Britain. And if anyone knows anything about Formula One, it is that Britain always has an incredible race. No matter whether you're racing on, you know, in the actual real life, or whether you're racing virtually. To be honest, it's probably the race on the calendar that I look forward to the most. It is always brilliant, it is always exciting, you have some amazing overtakes going on, but as we said, just like last week, it's also a race of attrition. Now last week we were in Monaco, which is of course the crown jewel of the Monaco circuit. That's of the F1 calendar, I should say. The Monaco circuit, you know, lived up to its name. We had Zenix Josh coming out on top of that race, pulling off an amazing strategy to just basically pull ahead of the car behind him with his extremist after two safety cars. Both drivers managing to somehow come out on top after what was two incredible strategy calls, I'd say. Extremist, who managed to finish second after two safety car restarts while on 30-lap old hard compound tyres. And then you had Zenix Josh, who was ahead of him, who made the call to go onto medium tyres and of course managed to get a 7-second gap and then have a safety car come out and then have to get another gap then after that and managed to go on and win the race. And of course you then had TTG Sean behind Extremist, who was on a soft compound tyre when it came to the second safety car, but just couldn't make it past Extremist, which gave the podium one hell of a atmosphere around it. The frustration of TTG Sean, the elation of Zenix Josh and Extremist. My drive of the day went to Zenix Josh that day, so even though Extremist pulled off a much more audacious strategy. Zenix Josh just managing to make that call to go onto medium compound tyres and last for the rest of the race just meant that he had the speed and the skill to outpace anyone who was likely to come around him. But that did leave a very interesting picture painted for us in the Drivers' Championship, with FT on top at the moment with 141 points in the Alfa Romeo, Extremist then behind in the McLaren on 91, Joshy Boy on 78 in the Red Bull, and then Callum Tyler behind him on 59 in the McLaren. And just like we saw in the past few races, there is this amazing battle currently coming out for between the three teams that are on the podium there: Alfa Romeo, McLaren and Red Bull. Now in the constructors, McLaren's currently coming out on top, but Mercedes are currently running away with things on 191 points, but McLaren are very slowly but surely catching up to them on 150 points, and Alfa Romeo behind them on 135, then Red Bull in 4th place on 133. It is that close between these guys, and honestly every single race as it comes by, we're seeing these guys really battling it out and really getting some decent points for each team. So it'll be interesting to see how they go from here on out in this race. But here we have Britain. It's a 5.9 kilometre circuit. It's the third longest F1 circuit on the current calendar. Only Spa and Baku are actually longer than it at 7 and 6 kilometres each. But it's not one that, you know, unlike Monaco, they're both races of attritions for different reason. But unlike Monaco, there are so many passes that can happen, and actually, it's very rare that we see a running order that goes into the race finish in that way. In fact, actually, there's never been a British GP at Silverstone where the top three have finished in the same order, and that is a crazy stat when you think about the fact that, you know, current F1 cars, they always say you don't have any overtakes, and yet here we are, even in the modern era, that hasn't happened. Now, the lowest grid position a podium finish has had, which is completely crazy, is 28th, and that happened in 1954, where Merriman finished a third, having started 28th in a 30-car field. Now, we haven't quite got that many drivers here today, but surprising podiums is not out of the question, and actually, we've had a fair few predictions come forward for this race, and I'll run you through a few of them. At the moment, mine was that Walker would be getting pole in the Alfa Romeo. Walker is an incredibly fast racer, and especially on a one-lap pace, but he's let me know that he's going to be racing with a wheel today, and so his speed's not just quite up there. I reckon, though, the winner will be FT in the Alfa Romeo himself, the current championship leader. But my surprise podium pick goes to Joshy Boy in the Red Bull. Now, Extremis, his main championship rival, got one up on him in the last race, and I think he's going to be vying for that revenge almost at his home Grand Prix here in Silverstone. I think he'll be maybe third, even second on the podium. Jake Lee's predictions were pole being Walker, the same as mine. He thinks that the winner, though, will be Clarkey in the Haas. And now, he's an incredibly fast driver, Clarkey is. Obviously, it'd be weird to see a Haas coming out on top, but if anyone can do it, it's certainly him. And he thinks a surprise podium will be coming from Crazy Bill, who we saw, if anyone saw the Monaco race, that was one of those races where Crazy Bill really looked like he was going to be really good and just fell short in the end. Walker has said a very similar thing of Clarkey winning and Crazy Bill getting the podium, but he thinks the pole sitter will actually be Safdar. And the interesting thing there is Safdar is the one that Walker actually collided with over in Canada a couple of races ago, which just shows exactly how Walker feels about his rival in that race, and it shows obviously that he really believes in his pace. Nix himself has come out and said that pole will go to Clarkey. He'll also win the race, but thinks the two podium sitters alongside of Clarkey will be Safdar and Walker. Who knows? And I think this is the thing about the British Grand Prix, is because it's so, it throws the cards into the air a lot of the time. We've seen crazy races happen around here, not just to mention last year's both 70th and the final Grand Prix, where you had the tyre calamities that we saw with both Bottas, Sainz, Kvyat, and of course Hamilton finishing on 3 wheels in that race. And of course you then had Verstappen win the final, the 70th Grand Prix. But it's tyre wear around here, because it's so extreme. If you're not looking after your tyres, if you've got a safety car for the entire thing, if you're following a car in the dirty edge, it's going to be damaging your tyres the entire time. We know that your tyre strategy could be thrown out of the window at any point. And of course, this isn't even considering the randomness factor that could be rain. Now, if people were to ask me, how likely is it that we can see rain in the UK? I'd sort of go, well, you've just kind of created an oxymoron for yourself there. It's rain and the UK. The two are so intrinsic that asking how likely it is like asking how likely it is for a baby to cry. If you're in the UK, even for more than 2 days, you're likely going to see rain. It's just one of those things we have to live with. Hell, today, a great example is we had a thunderstorm, and then 10 minutes later it was blue skies and beautiful out there. I am not joking, that is actually what happened. And I think that is likely going to be what happens in this race. We may see, obviously we've got short qualifying, we may see lovely, bright, sunny conditions for short qualifying, and in a race we could see changeable. We could even see heavy rain for the entire thing. I've been in the league race where we've had chucking it down in rain for qualifying, but completely dry bones race, and that affects your strategy when it comes to your aero setup. It is a high speed track around here. Usually you would go into this track with probably a very small amount of downforce, the same way as you kind of approach the Monzas, the Imola on the next game, stuff like that. These tracks at such high speed, it's a very similar aero setup to Belgium actually. But if there's rain, that setup is massively underperforming for you, and you could find yourself, especially if it's a raining qualifying and you're going for a dry race, you set your car up for the race, of course, you're going to be slipping and sliding everywhere in the qualifying, and that can really mix up the grid. But similarly, it could work the other way around. It could be raining in the race, and so you're setting up your car for a wet race, and thus your qualifying is just too slow. You've got too much downforce. It can get very difficult. And of course, with strict corner cutting, as we always see here on VRL, anything can happen when it comes to track limits. It's always a contention. We aren't the FIA. There isn't a it's a hit, at this race it's this line, and at this race it's this line, and we'll forgive it if it's our star racer sort of thing. I'm a Hamilton fan. I don't know why I've just said that. What we have here is if you go over the line, that's it, end of story, your lap's invalidated. If you do it 3 times in a race, you get a penalty. We're going to see that a lot. Penalties usually come into these races quite a fair bit, and Britain, because of that S's section with Maggots and Beckett's, it gets very difficult for drivers to navigate there if their downforce isn't just right, or if they're not completely in tune with their cars. And I think that is where especially we see these guys who are very used to league racing being out of practice or anything like that can really affect you. I was on a race the other day where we were seeing 2 different leagues battling against each other, and I asked the guy I was commentating with, how important is it to be able to trust the guys around you when you're league racing? Because it is. These guys know inside and out whether the people who are in front of them are going to turn in on them. They know that they can trust that they can go to wheel with one another, and it's not going to end in tears for them. I say that, hopefully. Now, what we do see in front of us is, of course, that we do have a dry, currently, a dry qualifying session. So who knows exactly what's going to happen in the race, but we'll soon see by some of the times that we're going to get. Now, of course, the time around here for pole position in real life was a 1:24.3 by Lewis Hamilton, fastest lap being a 1:27 by Max Verstappen. Now, the fastest lap that we've had around here is by IFR Simpson, who, so most of you guys who know this league know quite well, I'm assuming, because he's an incredibly fast racer. Who did a 1:25.6. Now, I'm not saying that I'm expecting to see that being broken today, but I would not be surprised with the calibre of drivers we've got on board with us today. And if you want to be joining on board with these guys, if you want to be joining as part of the league, even to learn from how these guys race, please let us know. Drop a comment down below. Join up. We'll get you in. It's a great bunch of lads who really, really appreciate it and just want to go racing with each other, and they do not care. As you'll see today, you can have any kind of ability. You can be up there with the likes of Stinson and Walker and you know, say Crazy Bill and people like that, or you could be down the bottom. Doesn't matter. These guys want good races, clean races, as we see him break track limits there on his outlap as a spin there. We want anyone, because at the end of the day we're an inclusive bunch of people who just like to have a laugh, like to enjoy racing. So as we're about to get underway here, let's see how Mazepin does on his first flying lap. So we saw that he broke track limits through Maggots and Beckett, and it is that easy to do that. Now, it won't affect his first flying lap, but obviously we probably will see a fair few of these guys really struggling with track limits as he starts his flying lap. So we're looking for around a 1:24 second pole lap. So let's see if we can get it, as we see Mazepin now currently heading towards the end of Sector 1 already. Trying to figure out which name of this is. This is the arena section. We're going to go up towards Brooklands now. I will eventually learn the names of these sections. So in Sector 1, Mazepin sets a 1:26.8. That is an important time to recognise, because we will be able to see how everyone else is doing throughout the rest of the laps. So we're going to go on board now with Mazepin and how he's see how he's doing as we're going to go through the hangar straight and up towards Stowe now, as Charlie in Japan gets out of the way his teammate. So that is quite good. It is not quite flat for Mazepin going through there. As we see there's a yellow flag, and he's really kind of gone across the grass there. So now as we go up to Maggots and Beckett, this is an amazing sector, so fast. And if you can ever get to the circuit, this is where you want to be sitting, because the change of direction from these cars is phenomenal. So it's 1:02.6 in that second sector. So let's see what Mazepin can do going around Club Corner now, is it? No, this is Stowe. That's the hangar straight. I got that completely wrong. Anyway, so as he goes round Vale and Club now, let's see how he does going across the line. It's a 1:26, so about 2 seconds off the actual qualifying pace of Lewis Hamilton. It's now a Haas about to come up. I think it's not because it's Robbie coming up to about to cross the line. No, it's not. I can't. I'm looking at the wrong part of the map. There you go. So Extremist sets a 1:25.4, and then Siam sets a 1:26.2. You then have Joshy Boy, who I picked to be on the podium, with a 1:25.1. That's an advantage to let's talk about that a second. 2/10 up. Nicky P gets into the 124s there on a medium set of tyres. He's obviously certainly one to watch there. So if he goes onto the softs. So let's see who's next to cross the line. It looks like it's going to be a Haas of Robbie with a 124.4. That's an incredible lap there from Robbie. It's now going to be a racing point of Safdar, who a lot of people are pitting for being on the podium as well. That's a 124.5. These guys in the 126s are really going to have to start picking up soon. It's a 124.5 as well from Crazy Bill, so he's doing really well as well. Next is a McLaren about to cross the line, so we're going to get on board with Callum Tyler now, as you see his teammate Extremis is 6th place at the moment with a 124.54. As Tyler goes past, it's a 125.8 for him. So who's next to cross the line? Who's out on their fastest lap at the moment? Charlie in Japan has broken track limits. You've got Clarkey, who a lot of people are tipping to be on pole, so we might stay on board with him and see how he does through these sectors. So he hasn't gone fastest through the first, but of course he's on the medium compound tyres compared to Robbie on the softs. Now, usually it's about a 7/10 difference between softs and medium, which just shows, I suppose, exactly how well Nick has done there in 4th position. If you took 7/10 off that, he would be on pole with the soft compound tyres, but let's see whether he's going to change off of those mediums or sort of say to himself, you know what, I'm happy to be a little bit lower down. As we see him go through Maggotts and Beckett's here, he's really committing, almost losing the back end, just slightly going off. That's a very much aggressive line through Maggotts and Beckett's there from Clarkey, very much throwing the car around, but let's see where he ends up when it comes to the end of the lap, end of the race, should say. Oh, he's completely lost the back of his car there. That is a shame, because it did look like it was going to be a fairly decent lap from Clarkey. We're going to go on board, I think, with Avocado now. Oh, the urge to say memes is difficult. As he goes fastest through that first sector, this might be a lap to kind of look at, as we see Nick has chosen the soft compound tyres, but he is still in the pit, so it'll be interesting to see if he comes out on those. So yeah, Nick would be probably on about a 124.2, which is faster than Hamilton's pole lap by a 10th. As we see Extremist head on out. Joshy Boy has set a 2nd lap on those soft compound tyres, so you'd expect he's going to pit and then go on to another set. He's probably just getting used to the feel of the car around this circuit at the moment. Obviously there is a big difference with a 101.8. This is a very good lap from Racer Avocado here. So let's see as he goes through the very understeery right-hander where where Clarkey lost it. He's then going to go into the penultimate corner before a very, very difficult, I'd say, right-hander. It's difficult to pick your acceleration point here, but he's managed to pick it very nicely. It's a 125.0, so after a very promising start, that lap kind of fell away from Avocado there, which is quite surprising, really. He ends up behind Nick, who set his time on a medium compound tyres. So Joshy Boy is still out, as I said, getting used to the cars. They do feel very different compared to how they feel on time trial, so you just have to get used to what the car feels like out there. As we see, Walker is currently out on a fastest lap. He's going round into the 2nd sector now, about to go down towards Cops. Let's see if I've got it right this time. It is Cops. So who else is on a flying lap in front of him? It looks like there's an AlphaTauri of Joel in front of him, as we see someone else has just gone into the top section. I'm not sure exactly who that was. So Walker sets a very nice line through there as he goes fastest through the middle sector. So let's see now as he's going into the final sector now. Let's see if he can just hook it up enough to get him maybe even onto pole with these soft compound tyres. Obviously there is 9 minutes left of this session, so really we shouldn't be expecting these times to be the final ones. As he goes a 124.7, he probably knows he can improve on that time. So let's go down and see if TTG Sean, who finished 3rd in Monaco, can improve on that time that we've just seen from Walker. Actually, no, let's see, is Extremist further ahead? I think he is, so we'll go on, stay on board with Extremist here. He's looking to try and get ahead of his championship rival Joshy Boy. He only needs to take off 3/10, but really I think he'll be looking into the 124s as he's throwing it around Maggotts and Beckett. He's really come out of shape there, and I'm unsure whether Clarkey's putting him off. or whether that's just a little bit of bad luck on Extremist through that section. It is very difficult. I can't do it. Honestly, Magnus Beckett, I just can't race fast enough. As you see, Extremist has backed off from that lap. Mazepin is just starting his first flying lap. Let's see if Sean's managed to link it up properly. So, as we see now going into the final corner, let's see what Sean can do. He's a 1:25.3, which is good enough to pip Extremist to 8th at the moment, as of course that is on the medium compound tyres. So the two who's currently qualified on the medium compound tyres is Nick and it's Extremist, and we see Walker's gone into 4th. No, we've already mentioned that, haven't we? So let's see Nick now going through the middle sector. Let's see what he can do on these soft compound tyres. Is that Clarkey in front of him? Let me just check if that is Clarkey in front of him or behind. Clarkey's behind, so we're going to go back on board with Nick and let's see what he can do on these new set of medium compound tyres. No, soft compound tyres. Of course, his time currently was set on a medium, so you'd hope he could maybe even challenge for pole. As we see, he's trying to get a slipstream from Robbie in the Haas up front. He has gone purple through the middle sector, but let's see how he can do going into this final little set of corners. It's a nice wide angle, goes in quite deep into the first corner, and then a very quick dart to the right. Let's see what his time is. It's a 1:24.2. It is exactly 7/10, well, almost 7/10 faster than his previous best. It's 2/10 better than Robbie's last lap. Of course, Robbie is now on his flying lap. We're going to go down though to Clarkey and see what Clarkey can set as he's pitting. We got FT, who I pitted to get the win of this race, has backed off. I think about to set his fastest lap on the next lap. Let's see who's currently out there. We have Callum Tyler should say, who's behind an AlphaTauri. He's definitely backed off. Charlie in Japan, who's right behind them, currently 2 seconds down on his fastest lap. Robbie seems like the only person, but then he's broken track limits. Of course, we've missed Safdar going into 2nd place on those new soft tyres, but he's still 2/10 off of Nicky himself. I keep calling him Nicky because I see Nick Hill behind next to him. So obviously Safdar's dropped out of that lap. Let's see, Callum Tyler's about to set his next fastest lap. Who else is out? I Am Sloth is certainly one to watch. This guy is super quick. He's been very unlucky in the last couple of races. He was leading for a good while in Canada and then just fell back at the end due to a couple of issues. So let's see what I Am Sloth can do around this very difficult, very technical, very long circuit. I'm not a fan of the broadcast cameras usually. It's one thing I do hope they fix in the next game, but we will look and see how he does going into them. It's certainly a much better way of watching the race at points because you get to watch both drivers at the same time. All these drivers do seem to be running quite wide on those after Magnets and Beckett onto the grass, and of course it doesn't really affect your time too much. I Am Soft does go purple in that middle sector, so let's see what he can do going through this final sector as he completely runs wide and ruins his lap. That is a real shame. I do think he was probably on for a very good lap there. So Callum Tyler, let's see what he can do. Whereabouts is he? He's just gone through the 2nd sector, so he'll be coming round. Oh no, he's backed off again. So Extremist, let's see, as we see Joshy Boy go up into 6th. That is not what Extremist wants to see whatsoever. So let's see, as we see, keep saying see, as we watch on board with Extremist going through Maggots and Beckett's. He's getting a nice tight line, not breaking track limits, backing off a little bit, then getting onto the speed quite nicely. He's certainly not as wide as we saw I Am Sloth going into that corner, but he's managed to keep it very smooth. He's not blowing anyone out of the water at the moment with this lap, but it may be good enough to improve on his current best time of a 1:25.4. Of course, he's really going to be aiming just to beat his rival of Joshy Boy, who's currently up in 6th with that 1:24.7. It's a very good lap from him. So we see it's a 1:25.0. It's only a couple of places, but 3/10 more importantly behind Joshy Boy. So let's see, Avocado was one that we certainly loved to watch around his lap. He was setting the timing board the light at the time, but just couldn't link up in that middle sector. I think he may have backed off in this lap a little bit, but gets into 8th gear, I think he probably is going for it, so we can stay on board with him for now. As we see, Joel has retired from the session in this little sector here. See him on the outside of that corner there. Racer does run wide. Let's see what he does through the middle sector. It's 3/10 up from his previous best time. That would currently put him up into 5th place. Of course, Walker and Crazy Bill are both out on their next flying lap, with I think Crazy Bill being the furthest ahead, so we'll go to him I think next. So as we see Avocado now, let's see how he does going around this final corner. It's a 1:24.6. It is good enough for 5th place at the moment. Let's go to Crazy Bill, who's next I think to cross the line. Oh no, I'm in the wrong place. He's further behind. It's a different Williams in front. It is VRL Smithy in front. So we're going to stay on board with Walker then and see if he can improve on his time as he goes through Magnus and Beckett's. Just like we saw Clarkey throwing his cars around. There he goes, 2/10 faster, but more importantly, a purple middle sector from Walker. He really knows how to link up that middle sector. So let's see, he currently needs to shave off about 5/10 as he completely ruins his lap running wide at Stowe, and that is such a difficult corner, and it just means that if you just break it that little bit, it ruins your lap entirely. I think Walker will be going around to try and set another time on this set of tyres. Crazy Bill is currently on a slow lap. Let's see how far Mazepin is. You've got the Stiffmeister being in front and Smithy being in front of... he's behind. Who else on a flying lap? I think this is it. We'll stay on board then with the Stiffmeister, whose current best time is a 1:26.3. You feel that that isn't representative of his best time, but he's just out of sorts there going through that middle sector. He is currently 8/10 slower than his fastest lap, I think. And that is likely to be the last person we're watching at the moment. So see him. No, I was going to say, let's watch see him as he goes through the first sector. Let's see how he's doing, as pretty much everyone is heading out on their outlap now for their final laps. He is 3/10 faster, 300 to say, faster than his previous best time of a 1:26.0. Really needs to be shaving off almost a second just to get into the top 8 of this session, which just shows exactly how competitive the guys at the top are. A second splits from first all the way down really until TTG Sean, who's only just over a second fast down in 9th. You'd expect pretty much all of these guys to be improving on their time. I'm just having a look on the map to see who's out first. It does look like Robbie will be the first to set a fastest lap after Safdar, so we are going to go up to Safdar now as he's started his first flying lap. Let's see how he does. Just keeping an eye on who sets the next, who starts their next flying lap next. I think it'll be Robbie, and then it'll be Nick. So Safdar now coming through the middle sector doesn't go faster than his previous best. That is very important, because I don't know if he's going to be able to get round 30 seconds. Is he going to be able to get round and start a next flying lap? These guys are going to have to be very careful, because they're going to have to start. They're going to start backing each other up now and really getting in each other's way. Right, let's see, with 20 seconds left, we have Robbie who started his first flying lap. Let's stay on board with him. He's really looking sharp on these soft compound tyres. So let's see, as he's got his teammate in front of him. The dirty air will be affecting him, remember. You just don't want to be risking it too much. So Crazy Bill and Racer Avocado will not be setting another fastest lap. We will be staying on board with Robbie at the moment. He's 100th faster. He needs to lose 2/10, just like Safdar does, to be able to get close to Nick, and we see him have a massive instant there. That will not do his lap any good whatsoever. Let's see, I think that's FT who is in front. It is, as he's invalidated his lap. That is a terrible decision. That's horrible for FT. He's much better than 10th place, but he's going to have to really work his way up from the back. Let's see if Smithy is doing any better, and Clarkey, as he goes through the middle sector. He hasn't set a fastest time at the moment. A lot of people picked him for pole. Can he make it work on this last little section? We see Joshy Boy go into 5th place. An amazing lap, losing a 10th there to himself. That was a brilliant lap there from him. Not good news for Extremist, who is currently on his first flight, his fastest lap. So Clarkey now, he's going to set a time. What's it going to be? He backs off to a 1:25.1, putting him in 9th place. Extremis has retired from the session. I think that's going to mean that Nick, who doesn't set a faster time, he goes 3/10 slower. That's going to mean that he is going to be on pole position, unchallenged there at the end of this session. But it means we've got Nick on pole, with Safdar in 2nd and Robbie in 3rd, Crazy Bill in 4th, Joshy Boy in 5th, Racer Avocado in 6th, Walker in 7th, Extremis in 8th, Clarky, who a lot of people picked for top billing here, in 9th, Sean in 10th, FT in 11th, Callum Tyler in 12th, then Siam in 13th, Charlie in Japan in 14th, Joel in 15th, Mazaspin 16th, the Stiffmeister in 17th, VRL Smithy in 18th, I Am Sloth not setting a time in 19th, just as Jake Lee in 20th. And wow, that was one hell of a qualifying session, because really we saw there, I'd say, not the true pace of a lot of these drivers. I think you've got Clarky, FT, I Am Sloth, all these guys who I'd say are completely out of position there. Maybe even Walker in 7th place. Obviously he is on the wheel, and as he said, it is going to be very difficult for him, but I'd say all of us who made predictions for this race did predict Nick being out on top. Not saying he doesn't deserve it, but it certainly is a very, very good result for him. And Safdar, who, as I said, we all thought had pace due to his showing in Canada, has done very well here to come into 2nd place in that Racing Point. I'm looking forward to that Racing Point being Aston Martin next year. Well, when we get the 2021 game, I'm looking forward to actually a lot of the rebranding, especially things like, so obviously Aston Martin will be nice to see. I'm really looking forward to seeing that brand new, completely different livery from the McLaren. I'm joking, that's a terrible joke, but anyway, I'm looking forward to hopefully never having to see that green Mission Winnow logo on the Ferrari. But of course you've got Alpine, who's got a beautiful livery and a really strange bulbous engine cover. I wonder if they're going to add that into it. It'll be really interesting in my team if they add those little different cosmetic things that you can sort of say, well, I want my car to look like this. And I go, okay, well, you get a choice of engine covers, you get a choice of how the halo design's like. That'll be really quite cool of way of personalising your My Team. Whether we'll get that is a different question. But here we are. It does look like it's going to be a dry race. One thing we didn't talk about there was strategies. It does look like it's going to be a one-stop strategy. Obviously, if there's no safety cars and stuff, a one-stop strategy here in the UK. It's usually soft to mediums or soft to hards. I didn't see whether these guys set any times on the medium tyres, but you'd probably assume the guys who are lower but then 10th position will have, as they've got that free choice, they'll be able to choose whatever they want to. So softs last about 11 laps, you have mediums about 16, hard about 21, with the puncture zones being 13, 19 and 24. And that's going to be interesting to see, because obviously with safety cars and stuff like that, you're likely to see, especially at the earlier part of the race, these guys changing from their soft compound tyres onto their mediums. As we see, TTG Sean, who was 10th, set his fastest lap on a medium tyre. You've got FT, who starts on the mediums in 11th position. It's going to be good for him starting on a brand new set of tyres. And then you have Siam also starting on the mediums, as well as I Am Sloth and Jake Lee in 19th and 20th. And of course, the formation lap here, to those of you who maybe don't know, and of course most people watching this live certainly do, is to warm up your tyres, so you make sure that you have enough grip going through the corners, enough grip off the start, and especially for those medium compound guys, that is going to be especially important. And they're going to be wanting to make sure they get them up to temperature as quickly as possible, so that way they can regulate it. And that way, when they're sitting on the grid, it's not losing too much temperature. It's not going to. It's going to make sure that they do get the jump on some of the guys in front, rather than just being swallowed by the guys on softs, which we're more than likely going to see. We'll probably sit around with Joshy Boy off the start, so we can see the guys in front. And of course, with broadcast mode, you can see some of the race, the gaps sort of forming, and you can see some of the races happening around, so it'd be good to see that a little bit more. We will switch to and from, as we see there, so lap 11 to lap 12 instead of soft lap. That's usually around 11 laps before they start going off, and with the hards being such a long compound 21 laps, you can almost pretty much pit around lap 6 and still get to the end of the race. So, as Nick does get them round almost into the final corner there, as I think they've now gone into AI mode. Let's hope they've all got their tyres up to temperature. There's a little bit of gap to, I think that's the Ferrari of the Stiffmeister, so it means they will be waiting a little bit on the circuit, but hopefully not too much. As we go on board with Joshy Boy, you can see the view we'll have down into turn 1. Now turn 1's not an overtaking zone, it's a very fast corner. You'll be taken out if you try and overtake there. May see a couple of people making a mistake of doing that, but turn 2 certainly is very heavy braking zone. Very interesting to see how the overtakes work from there. So we're going to go on board with Joshy Boy, and let's wait and see. Let's see, there we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights, and we are off for the British Grand Prix, round 10 of 15 here at VRL. We've got an amazing start from Joshy Boy. Safdar has gone straight into the lead, amazing overtake for him. There doesn't seem to be any instance down below, but Extremist has gone down to 12th already. So we have the Safdar now leading from Nick, and then the Haas has just overtaken him on the inside. He's having a bit of an issue there. We've got Joshy Boy still in, I think that's 4th position there for him, but Nick has had an atrocious start, going down into 3rd place off the start of the grid. And let's wait until the leaderboard really starts to open up. As we see there, the Williams of Crazy Bill looking up the inside of Joshy Boy, but not thinking, but thinking better of it. Let's have a look lower down. We've got Callum Tyler, who's got the Stiffmeister, an amazing start from him, getting past him up the inside here, going into a very fast left-hander, right-hander should say. I'm looking at this other way around. So it's a brilliant start then from the Stiffmeister. The medium compound runners, as kind of expected, have fallen down the order a fair bit, but I think the worst to come off that start is definitely Extremist. So we've now got the gaps forming, so let's see if Nick can overtake Robbie going up the outside. No, he decides against it, but he's very much got the diffuser of as we see here now, Crazy Bill's trying to go up the inside of Walker. Walker outbreaks him going around the outside, but he's going to have a much harder run into the final corner. They're pushing each other out onto the to the road, but there has been an instant with Callum Tyler out the back. He's kept it going, which is good news for him, but it does mean that he's not able to pit to rectify whatever damage he's just got. We don't have a safety car. That brings Extremist up into 10th place. The Stiffmeister has an amazing start to get into 9th, but there's a big overtake up front from Clarkey, who as well has gotten from, I think he was at 9th place up to 7th. Avocado's fallen down a little bit. We have a 2/10 gap between Joshy Boy, and we had a 2/10 gap, should say, between Nick and Robbie there. These guys are keeping quite close to one another. We're just going to make our way down the grid to see if there are any battles happening. It doesn't look like it so far. Of course, we haven't got DRS yet. Maybe Joel is looking up the inside of FT. FT's managed to get himself up into 13th place so far. It's good from the very atrocious first lap from the medium compound runners, but they of course will have the advantage going from here. Let's see as FT looks up the outside of Sean going the inside of Maggots. This is going to be a very difficult part to overtake in. There could be an instant. There is an instant. FT almost spins. He does spin. That is a big issue for him. It's such a horrible place to be trying to overtake, if especially you're running wide into Maggots. You're just going to touch the grass. You're going to spin. And it's a real shame for FT, the current championship leader. It's good news for the guys around him, who currently aren't doing exactly the best, but as we see Clarkey completely locking up there, and Crazy Bill trying to make the most of it. As we've got Robbie setting a fastest lap of the first last couple of laps. We now have DRS enabled, so now it's going to get very interesting to see Walker's fallen out of a second of Joshy Boy in front. But can we see if we've got 3-second time penalty already for Mazepin? Well, that's just ironic. I love his name, it just makes me laugh every time. So, let's see, Joshy Boy now, DRS on the guys in front. Robbie obviously having DRS of Safdar. This isn't usually the place where DRS comes into play. It is usually down towards Stowe that we want to see these DRS overtakes happening. With a 3/10 difference, it's quite a fair bit of a difference there, as we see Jake Lee, sorry, not Jake Lee, we've got Joel and Sean really battling out here in the AlphaTauri in the Mercedes. Sean has been bested by Joel at the moment, but just like we saw FT gaining on him in this sector of the track last time round, Sean is now trying to get back, and I think he thinks, you know what, I do not want to end up the same way. Let's not try and go two by two into Magnus and Beckett, and I think that's a wise decision. Right, these guys are now into the long DRS zone at the front. It's still not enough for Robbie to get in front of Safdar. Safdar is very much controlling this race very well indeed. I think they're doing very well to manage to get this race under control up the front. Of course, Walker's now back within a second, as we see a 3-second time penalty from FT. I think really the person who's done the best off this start is definitely Stiffmeister. He's done brilliantly to gain the positions that he has. He's now currently 2 seconds off of Avocado, who's fallen behind this gap in front. As you see, Clarkey is really pushing on Walker. I think this is where the dirty air is really going to start affecting some of these cars. As you see, the guys behind them who were outside of that dirty air now catch up to them. This is where they're going to be thinking, oh, my tyres aren't overheated, I can make a move here before my tyres get into the same range as theirs. So Walker does stay ahead at the moment, but he gets very wide into that corner, gives Clarkey the opportunity. Let's see, is he going to try and go up the inside? I'm not sure if that's mine. We see Callum Tyler get a 3-second time penalty. Now, as we see, going down towards, I think this is Cox, it is indeed. I don't think this is a good place to see Nick get a 3-second time penalty. That is very important at the moment with how far behind all these cars behind are. So Clarkey definitely backs out of it there, but we have got a DRS zone coming up. Let's see if he can get a much better run. Walker gets a very bad run there. Now let's see, with DRS he does get up the inside, he's got overtake. Is this going to get very close between Walker and Clarkey here? Clarkey's currently got the nose in front, but Walker has the inside line. This is amazing racing from these two, pushing each other off. Almost had a moment there from Clarkey as he comes back on and almost takes out Walker, but lives to survive another day. This is getting spicy between these two. It does mean that now Walker is outside of a second of Joshy Boy in front. We're going to stay on board with this one because it looks like Clarkey's got an amazing run here into turn one. Walker just seems to be struggling quite a lot on the exit of some of these corners, and Clarkey is just able to capitalise that little bit much. This is not what you expect to see from Walker, even with his wheel. I think really Clarkey is doing brilliantly here. Let's see, with DRS on Walker. Walker does not have DRS here. Walker, I think, moves over to the inside knowing he's going to have to defend that. But I think this is where it's going to get difficult. Clarkey turns in, he does lock up a little bit and has to yield the position once again to Walker, who goes onto the grass, getting very deep into that corner. This battle is just continuing. As we see now a massive issue from Clarkey. Is that going to invite Crazy Bill? Not just yet. So this is where we saw the action happen a couple of laps earlier between FT and Sean. I don't think this is going to happen again. I think these guys are going to go nicely into this, but Clarkey, just like last time, let's see if he can get a much better run through this corner. He does get a bit of a tank slapper on. That has really ruined his exit, and now Crazy Bill has managed to get up the inside. He's going to have DRS. I think Clarkey has as well. He's able to defend with DRS. Let's see if he can recover that position. He's currently now outside of a second of Walker. He needs to get back inside of that, or his tyres are gone. Oh, but that inside there, that Racer Avocado gets inside, tries to get inside of Bill, but just can't make it work. Extremist makes the overtake on Stiffmeister behind though, and wow, what a couple of laps there from those guys. That was an incredible couple of laps there between those racers, really going tooth and nail at each other. But up the front, we've still got a battle for the lead. The top three are currently still split by less than a second. Robbie is really struggling on these tyres behind Safdar. Of course, we know that the hard compounder tyre can go 20 laps, so he could pit now and really try and go for an undercut, but it all depends on how far behind those guys are and see if you can find a gap to slot into. Wow, what a start to the race. We're currently 6 laps in and it's already battle heaven all the way through the field. Walker has got Clarkey behind him once more. His tyres are currently going to be struggling a little bit in that dirty air. I think that's what we saw going through Magnus and Beckett. It's dirty air affecting both your aerodynamics and the temperature of your tyres, just meaning it's so easy to slide and lose your traction on your tyres. As we see Walker getting a bit of a better exit there. Of course, Clarkey does have DRS. Let's see, Crazy Bill isn't gaining on him at the moment, but Clarkey is not gaining enough on Walker to try and make an overtake. Walker still can't really catch up to Joshy Boy, who's now fallen out of contention in that top 3 battle. But you can still see the leaders from Clarkey's position, as we see a 3-second time penalty given to Stiffmo, so that's not going to help his bid to try and get back ahead of Extremists. Let's have a look at some of these battles down below. You've got Sean and Jake Lee in 13th and 14th. The two guys who I'd say really are going to be, well, Sean especially, should be fighting for a podium here. It's really kind of struggling. Even FT and I Am Sloth, who are down at the bottom there, just can't seem to make it work. I'm unsure whether I Am Sloth there is hoping either for a safety car late on, or maybe hoping he can get to the end of the race on that set of hard compound tyres. It'd certainly be interesting. It doesn't look like Sean is going to be close enough here. Let's see, is there any battles happening above? You still have this train behind, oh, now Joshy Boy. So Walker has now managed to get within a second of Joshy Boy. So now we have a train behind 4th place all the way down to 8th. It's an amazing race we've got on our hands here. We've got Robbie, who's still catching Safdar. Let's see, he's going to have DRS now. Safdar has got a little bit of a worse exit there, but I think realistically that 3/10 is still too much for Robbie to be getting ahead of him. Safdar has used almost double the amount of ERS that Robbie has, but it just can't be enough for him to overtake him. Walker's now right up the back of Joshy Boy because of that DRS, and you can see the 3 leaders then right behind. Nick, obviously with a 3-second time penalty, is still currently within that. You see Jake Lee's fallen behind Joel. Something must have happened there between Joel and, oh no, so Sean is actually was always in 14th, so Joel's just fallen behind Jake Lee now. Jake Lee making his way up to 12th position. As you see, Sean did a 3-second time penalty. I think we'll be seeing that for a lot of the guys up front now. This race has certainly gotten interesting. Walker is still within DRS range of Joshy Boy. Is good enough for now to keep him defending from Clarkey. I think he's really under threat from the guys behind, and I think he needs Joshy Boy to keep backing into him, keep making sure that he's within that second in order to be able to defend properly. I think he's using DRS now as more of a defence mechanism. As we see Clarkey importantly get a 3-second time penalty, that's ruined his chances at the moment. Obviously, as we see, Robbie's also got a 3-second time penalty. Safdar was one of the only racers in the Canadian Grand Prix to stay without a just basically stay without a penalty, so he's doing very well there up in 1st place. We see now Walker's got a much better run here on Josh Boy. He's got DRS, he's overtake. Is he going to take stick? He's going up the inside. He's certainly trying. Josh Boy has to back out, knowing he can't really defend into that corner. He does very well there, but can he get him back on the outside of the penultimate corner? He can't, so Walker is up into 3rd place. Nick has now pitted on lap 9, so a couple of laps earlier than we expected. Is he going to hope to make the mediums last, or is he going on to the hard? We'll have to wait and see. So we now have Walker in 3rd position on the podium, but of course Nick has pitted. He does go on to the medium compound tires. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3 as we see Clarkey dive up the inside of Joshy Boy there, really dive up the inside, but has gotten through. He's decided I'm not going to make the same mistake there. So Stiffmouse is also in the pits, so is Nick still in the pits. He's got a 3-second time penalty as we see Crazy Bill also going around outside. But in front we have Walker and Clarkey having an incident there, pushing him off. As you see, Mazepin's been disqualified for blocking this pit lane. I'm unsure exactly what's happened there. We'll see after the race. But we have Crazy Bill who's now making an overtake on Walker. Walker's going to have to back out here. He's not. He's taking the outside line. Crazy Bill can't do anything about it. He's done very well to keep in distance of him, but he's not going to be wanting the dirty air going into this race. As we see, Joshy Boy's now gone back in front into 4th position. This is turning into a very interesting race. But out front, we've had an overtake for the lead where Robbie has overtaken Safdar. So through all that craziness, we see Joshy Boy about to overtake, walk around the outside. He's going to retake 3rd position. He just can't quite get ahead of Walker there. So as you see Safdar diving into the pits, so does Walker. Joshy Boy decides, I'm going to stay out for another lap and let's see where I can come out. So we now have the race leaders of Joshy Boy and Crazy Bill staying out. Clarkey stayed out as well. He's got a 3-second time penalty. Of course, Racer Avocado is in 4th. Of course, you then have Robbie, Safdar and Walker. Let's see where Robbie and Safdar are going to come out compared to Nick. So as we watch now on board with Nick going round the penultimate corner, he has got a bit of traffic in front of him. Shouldn't be affecting him too much, but let's see where the other guys come out. So Robbie, Safdar and Walker are the ones we're really watching for. So as we get Nick with a bit of slipstream on the Williams. He doesn't come out in front of the guys who he was racing before. He's got the Haas right in front of him. He has managed to get, of course, get in front of Walker, who's now stuck. So he does get in front of Safdar, actually. Safdar has managed to be jumped by Nick. The undercut has worked, but Robbie obviously had such an amazing outlap that it means he can't. He's managed to jump both Nick and Safdar in the pits. So Robbie obviously with the 3 second time penalty, now as Nick as well. Safdar really has to keep it clean in order to make sure he doesn't ruin his race, but he just can't get past this Williams, who seems to have actually more pace than the medium compound tyres of Nick and of Safdar. But of course it's not blue flags at this point, even though you would think, as we see Joshy Boys as well as Crazy Bill have both pitted, so has Racer Avocado. Extremist now comes into the pits, so we now have Clarkey, who's on to 10 laps on those soft compound tyres, staying out. So let's see where these guys end up. They were obviously battling with Walker previously, and Walker is currently down in 15th. Will they come out in the same sort of position? As we see Jake Lee go into second, we see Nick get a 5 second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Why has he gone back into the pits? He must have got damaged during that fight with Robbie, who's now up into 6th place once again because he's now pitted. The guys in front all haven't. We've got FT, and this is incredible to say, FT, who hasn't pitted in 5th place, is currently keeping the net race leader of Robbie behind and kind of holding him up a little bit, allowing Safdar to try and come back. But that's a 1.5 second gap. That's how much time he lost behind Smithy there. It's an amazing amount of time. So we see there's a Haas that's gone off. That is going to be Clarkey, I think. It is. Clarkey has spun going into Maggots and Beckett. That is a bit of an issue there. So Jake Lee now retakes the lead. He's going to now come out quite far behind Walker, you'd expect, who the battling between Walker and Crazy Bill has reignited. Now they're out of the pits. You have Joshy Boy, who's still within 5 tenths. So this battle has basically came back alive again because of the pit stop. So now we're going to watch as Crazy Bill is going to have to defend from Walker with much faster DRS and overtake. He's going to go round the outside. Crazy Bill's going to push him a little bit, as you see Clark get a 5 second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. You have Crazy Bill trying to come back on the inside. He retired from the session. That's a shame for Clarky Boy. Clarky should he's retired from Clarky Boys because we've got Joshy Boy behind him. Then we see Walker has regained that position into 7th place. Crazy Bill couldn't get it working, and now he's got Joshy Boy right in contention behind him. So Safdar is right up behind FT. He is still about a second and a bit off of Robbie. He's going to have to try and make his way past FT and get back within that second gap between inside of Robbie. But it's going to be difficult in terms of getting past FT. It's not exactly the easiest customer to get past. So Crazy Bill now going up the outside of Walker into 6th place. He has made it work, has he? He's just kept it going. He's got the inside line into the next corner. He's going to make it work, I think. But Walker's going to have a much nicer line out on the outside of this corner. Let's see, going up the inside into Cops. Can he make it work? They're both taking very opposite lines. I think Walker's going to have to back off. Really, he is. So now Crazy Bill regains 6th position. And this, I think this race is going to continue with, you know, the two of them really being only split by about 3 or so tenths. It's going to be difficult. Safdar has still not managed to get past FT. FT is really holding him up on these 11-lap-old medium compound tyres. We know the mediums can go about 16 laps, so he's going to be needing to make that overtake on track in order to get back in contention and fighting with Robbie. It's a difficult one to call. I certainly wouldn't want to do it, as we see Crazy Bill and Walker have once again exchanged positions into 6th and 7th place. This is going to carry on for a good while, I feel. The 4-horse race for 3rd place on the grid has now turned into a 3-horse, and of course we've seen Nick, who had to pit once again to go down into 16th. It's been a real shame for the pole sitter there of Nick to go down into 16th, fighting alongside Charlie in Japan and VRL Smithy. It's a real shame. He must have been held up and had to get some kind of damage. But we're going to see again Crazy Bill and Walker fighting once again, going into this second sector. it looks like at the moment that Walker's got the upper hand, apart from he's just outbraked himself, gone very deep into that corner, allowing Crazy Bill to then retake this lead. Is he? Yes, he is. He's now a car length in front. Of course, Walker's going to have slipstream. He's going to look at the inside. I think he thinks better of it. He does indeed. Safdar gets a 3-second time penalty. So that clean record that he had has now ruined his chances of winning on penalties. He's going to have to overtake when it comes to DRS. So Robbie gets past Sean. FT's just causing a roadblock. He's going to be too much for Safdar to get past. He does get past Sean, but can't get past FT. That was the closest we've seen him to Robbie, as we see Sean really battling up the inside, trying to regain that position. He just can't get past FT, who still gets to pit. Jake Lee's running a very good race in first position at the moment, making those medium compound tyres last. But of course, we will expect him to pit and probably go down to about 11th or 12th. After his pit stop, because the guys are so fast, so close in front. So you can see now Safdar is definitely being held up here by FT. You just hope that he can get DRS and get it working to get him ahead. Now sadly FT will have to fall outside of that second gap of Robbie, which won't be good news for Safdar, because he just can't overtake him while FT is in that DRS zone. It's in the DRS zones that you have to be able to overtake, and you just can't do it. The person in front has also got DRS as well. We're going to go back down to Walker and Crazy Bill, who've kind of settled down a little bit, and by that I mean they haven't changed position in one lap. This is now the second lap, and I fully expect them to change position. But Walker may be thinking, you know what, I've got to make these medium tyres last until the end of the race. Maybe this is where he has to back off and think longevity rather, you know, it's a marathon rather than a sprint sort of thing, as we see Walker following very closely, and we see a 3-second time penalty for Extremist. This is some incredible wheel-to-wheel actions here from these guys. I'm really proud to be watching and commentating on this racing, as Joshy Boy's done very well indeed to keep up with these guys. He had an amazing qualifying session, as we see Sean's now pitted after 13 laps on those medium compound tyres. They will go 16. He probably will want to pit him a bit earlier, but he's probably going to go on to the softs now with just over 11 laps to go. So that now elevates these guys into 5th, 6th and 7th. I think honestly, unless something crazy happens, these guys here between Crazy Bill, Walker and Joshy Boy, and maybe even Racer Avocado, who's managed to keep back up to them, whoever gets that position is likely to get my driver of the day, because they've been battling all day. And as we've said at the start of this whole stream, this is a race of attrition. It's a very long circuit, it's a very technical circuit. You have to have your wits about you for the entire time, and if you can make it work. Oh, as we see Crazy Bill and Walker really at it there. That was a bit dirty there from those guys. Walker does regain the position. I think Crazy Bill thought, you know what, that was kind of unfair from me. I shouldn't have gone into him, so I'll let him through. But for them to be battling for this entire time and manage to then make it through just shows exactly how great some of these drivers are. Walker is now 4 tenths in front. He has got DRS, obviously Crazy Bill does. I don't know if it'll be enough. He's using overtake as well. Walker pushes him wide. Let's see, can he make it work round the outside of Stowe? It doesn't for now, but that's a very bad run from Walker. Crazy Bill does get in front. Of course, Walker has the inside line. He goes very wide into that corner there. He now Crazy Bill now has the inside line into the final corner. It looks like he's going to make it work, but it doesn't. Walker does get in front, and that brings Joshy Boy back into contention here. This is a very exciting race indeed. So Crazy Bill and Walker really battling out here, as well as Joshy Boy behind you. Then had the pit stops of Jake Lee and FT finally allowing Safdar to be back within DRS range of Robbie. The battle for the lead is now back in place. Of course, we still have this battle for Crazy Bill and Walker. Crazy Bill going round the outside. We've seen it in this part of the track so many times. Walker now has the outside line. It's now become the inside, but that's a very big slide there from Crazy Bill. Is he going to be able to recover and keep that position from Joshy Boy? It does look like he can. Joshy Boy could not capitalise even with that spin from Crazy Bill. Let's see. The two of them are really neck and neck here. You do not want to be going into this little sector here though, following that closely behind. As expected, Crazy Bill does back off that little bit. So Sean and Nick are now fighting out for 12th and 13th as Nick's completely lost traction on his tyres. Once again, that is a big issue from Nick, the one-time pole sitter and once leader of this race for one corner. It's just a bit of a shame to watch, as he had such an amazing amount of pace around this track. Has lost now 2 positions to Sean and Callum Tyler. Sean's gone onto the soft compound tyres. I think these guys on the softs have really pulled a blinder if they can catch up on the guys in front. Obviously Jake Lee in 8th position, it's great from him after he started last. He's done very well. So is I Am Sloth, who is still on those hard compound tyres. I'm unsure whether he's going to try and stop again. We now have still this 10th gap between Crazy Bill and Walker. As you see, Extremist getting another 3-second time penalty. It's important to note that Racer Avocado and Walker have both not got any penalties. That could become very important here. Obviously, Walker will be trying to preserve that even while battling Crazy Bill. Walker's been doing amazingly here, and it's been an amazing race so far, and we've still got just about 10 laps to go. We're going to go down to see the battle now between FT and Jake Lee. He's now within a second of Jake Lee. Let's see if he can get this move going, and then he's got 10 seconds to try and overtake, try and catch up on with Extremist now. It's not exactly an easy feat, but with soft compound tyres compared to the aging mediums, you certainly hope that FT, with all of his pace, should be able to do it. As you see, there's a big issue, I think, for Siam and Smithy. There was. The two of them do seem to have collided, and Siam is now into 14th place. He only lost a little bit of time there, as you see, a 3-second time penalty for the Stiffmeister. So Walker's now back in front of Crazy Bill. Crazy Bill looking to try and overtake up the inside. Joshy Boy is just sitting back and thinking, you know what, I've just got to try and capitalise if these two end up colliding. He's doing very well indeed, as we see there. Crazy Bill going up the inside. He's very close to taking. I'm surprised we've not had any damage here from these guys. This is an incredible race, as we see FT set a fastest lap on those soft set of tyres. We see Joel get another 3-second time penalty, as well as Jake Lee, as FT does get past Jake Lee. Now Crazy Bill looking up the inside of Walker. Is Walker going to be able to keep this going? This seems to be the same place every single race. Walker just has to go deep here. It's going to mean that Crazy Bill can get through. Does it mean that Joshy Boy can? No, it doesn't. So we're once again in the same position as we were. Walker now following Crazy Boy, with Joshy Boy right behind. Crazy Bill, I keep calling him Crazy Boy. Anyway, this whole race is crazy. They're all crazy boys. That's terrible. Crazy Bill is now 10 seconds behind Safdar. They can no longer see the race leaders. Safdar is keeping a very close eye on Robbie. Let's see Walker now go very easily up the inside. Can he keep it, make it stick? It looks like Crazy Bill's going around the outside and keeping it going. Now that becomes the inside into this corner, but I think he just lets it go. It does indeed, knowing that the last lap is where you want to be ahead. You do not want to be ahead going into the second to last lap, but they're going to keep fighting, keep pushing each other, hoping the other makes a mistake. As you see, there's a yellow flag into sector 1. It looks like it's going to be the Stiffmeister. Let's see. It is the Stiffmeister indeed. These guys are all catching up behind him, but they're going to be able to overtake, I assume. He's going to get out of the way. Walker's now going to probably go through him. He doesn't, but that does mean that Crazy Bill, once again, the two of them are fighting up into 3rd and 4th, swapping positions every 10 seconds. Who is going to come out on top? It will just be whoever fights last. Whoever's on top in the second to last lap will be thinking, you know what, I don't want to be making my move here. I'll be making, because if I make the move here, he will make the move on the next lap. Now, that's risky, of course it is, because you don't know if he's going to be able to make the move. You don't know if you're going to be able to make moves. We see Racer Avocado get past Joshy Boy and have a big issue there going into the DRS zone, but we see up front Walker once again fighting with Crazy Bill. Bill is really pushing Walker. He's going to try and go around the outside. Once again, gets a much better run, but has to yield the position. He does look at the inside as Walker gets a very bad run through that final corner. Let's see now. No, they do stay in the same position. This is lap 20 of 26, and this is going to be going on for a while. Right, we're going to go down and see another battle between Siam and VRL Smithy. Let's see if these two can keep it going. There's a big moment there from Smithy, just getting way too deep into Beckett, and I think he's just had to back off. Now let's see, can Smithy overtake Siam with DRS? I think it's going to be too much of an audacious attempt. It certainly is. We see Crazy Bill and Walker swapping positions once again. Let's go back up to that as they're fighting through the same part of the track as they always are. Crazy Bill does get on top in this time around, but let's see. No, Walker's managed to bite him back. So Crazy Bill now having to hope that he can get the inside lines. We see Stiffmeister's retired going into sector 2, and this is now mean that we've got a virtual safety car. Walker didn't back off as early as Crazy Bill. Is that a 5-second time penalty? It is a 5-second time penalty for Walker on Crazy Bill. That has blown this out way more than I think Walker had hoped. 5 seconds is a lot of time to make up. He had no penalties, of course. Crazy Bill's got 3-second time penalty, so it means he's only got to make up a 2-second difference. But with the way these two have been battling, it doesn't feel like they're going to be able to do that. Let's have a look at penalties and see who's got what. So we see Walker's got a 5-second time penalty for speed in the pit lane. So Walker's bailed from that fight. It looks like Crazy Bill's managed to come out on top due to Walker running into the back of... Oh, and he's retired as well. That is a shame from Walker. His race, it certainly wasn't ruined. He would have scored some decent points, but he certainly would have been a bit miffed at how he just went into the back of Crazy Bill. So we're going to see, as green flag running resumes, Racer Avocado is now the next racer in line to try and overtake Crazy Bill. I Am Slot has done very well to get into 9th position on those hard compound tyres. He is going to go to the end, so he's doing very well there indeed. Extremist has done well to stay up into 6th place with all the craziness that's happening in front of him. He's caught up to the back of this pack in front. He's now within 6 tenths should say, of Joshy Boy, who's still on the back of Racer Avocado, so he's now in the contention for the podium as well. He's going to be hoping he can overtake his championship rival in front of him. He's of course got the points over him at the moment, but you do not want to be yielding any points to the guys in front, because at the end of the day, as we see a 3-second time penalty come Joshy Boy's way, at the end of the day, this championship has only got 5 races left after this race, and it is wide open between the Red Bull and McLaren teammates. So Joshy Boy is very close to Racer Avocado there. Let's see, he's got a much better run into turn 3. Still can't quite get any better of him. Let's see, within 4 tenths now of Racer Avocado. Avocado is not going to have DRS, so we've once again got a battle. It's not for 3rd this time, it's for 4th. So Joshy Boy goes up the inside of Avocado. He's just managed to make it stick. They do collide. There is a bit of a wheel banging, but they have managed to then avoid any serious damage. But Extremist is right behind them. So is this going to be the same kind of battle that we saw between Crazy Bill and Walker? We'll have to wait and find out. Yes, Joshy Boy, do not try and overtake going into Cops. It does not work. Nor does Magnus and Beckett, so just stay back, get a better run, use the slipstream, and there we go. We're seeing him now trying to gain a little bit. He's got DRS, but I don't think it's going to be enough for him to overtake Racer Avocados. You see another virtual safety car because Extremist has lost the car going through the end of Beckett's and gone straight into the wall. That's brought FT back into 6th place. Wow, what a race. So Extremist has done so well to get himself up into that battle for 4th place. Now we have another virtual safety car, FT on the soft compounder tyres. He's going to be gaining ever so quickly on the guys in front once they get back to green flag running. Safdie is right behind Rob. don't know who's going to win this race. I don't know who's going to finish on the podium. I don't know who's going to finish fourth. What in the world's going to happen? So as we're waiting now to return back to green flag running, Safdar had to back off. He's lost a fair bit of time there to Robbie, but Joshy Boy certainly hasn't. He's gained a lot on Racer Avocado, who's going round the inside of him there. Let's see as we go up towards Cops now. Can Joshy Boy manage to get back ahead of Racer Avocado? He's looking up the inside. He's not going to be able to make it work without his overtake, so he's backing off for now. As we see him get a 3-second time penalty. It's important to note that Racer Avocado hasn't got a time penalty, and currently he's within 2 seconds of Crazy Bill. Could we be seeing Racer Avocado manage to get onto the podium? He's kept up with everyone else in this race, but let's see Joshy Boy now. He's going to go up the inside of Racer Avocado. It's a brilliant race here from the Red Bull driver, but again we're seeing, just like we saw with Walker and Crazy Bill, Racer Avocado on the outside just managing to keep it working. Now these guys are really fighting. Racer Avocado is going to be hoping not to make a mistake, not to run out of track limits, not to really struggle, as we see going up the inside into turn 1. This is not an overtaking space, but Joshy Boy has made it work, as we see Avocado really going round the outside there. Now he's going to try and go around the outside into turn 3. That was... I'm surprised he managed to not get a penalty for that. That was absolutely crazy. Now you could say that Joshy Boy was... he was an overtake that wasn't really there. He went up the inside into turn 1, which is not an overtaking zone. It's where you could very easily spin your car out if you end up colliding with someone. It's a very fast right-hander. Racer Avocado being pushed out to the outside of the track and obviously off the track, then rejoining, giving himself more acceleration speed because he didn't have to brake for turn 2, and just managed to get ahead there of Joshy Boy. He's done quite well there not to get a penalty, but I am quite surprised. But he probably will be still under fire of Joshy Boy going up towards Stowe. He's now outside the 3 seconds of Crazy Bill, so Crazy Bill currently is still in the lead, in third place. Safdar obviously 15 seconds up ahead, with only 4/10 to Robbie. He's really going to be hoping that he, as we enter lap 5 now, he's going to be able to make the move and make it stick. You wonder whether Safdar's been backing off a little bit as to not jump too early, but he does seem to be losing traction on these tyres. Can't get the exit that I think he wanted. He's only got 17% of his ERS left to use, with 24 on Robbie. Let's wait and see, shall we? Callum Tyler is gaining on Joel to try and get the last championship point for McLaren, as we see him run very wide there. I'm unsure about penalties for those guys, but we'll have to wait and see as we're going down now into Cops with Robbie and Safdar, the race leader and second place. These two battling out all race, but just not managing to make the move. Safdar hasn't. Robbie made that move very early on before the pit stops, and then Safdar just hasn't managed to get it back. So as we see now going in towards Stowe, we're going to wait and see now whether the Safdar is going to be close enough really to make any overtake work. He's only got 6% of his ERS left. As we're about to enter the final lap, we will stay on board with these guys because Joshy Boy has fallen down outside of a second of Racer Avocado. FT has not managed to catch up. We will stay on board with Safdar for now as we enter the final lap, as we see FT get a final, it's another 3 second time penalty. I'm going to go on board with Crazy Bill a little bit here. I just want to talk about the race that he has had. He has been right behind, battling with Walker throughout the entire race, and as I said, this is certainly one of those races that you have to be on it throughout the entire race. Race of attrition, just like Monaco. And whereas we see Safdar really looking at the inside of Robbie there, whereas we saw some other people falter at this point, Crazy Bill's managed to keep it going. He's managed to keep his focus levels up. He's managed to keep his motivation going, and also managed to get outside of that 3 second time barrier of Avocado, who was of course at the back of that pack. They were close with each other. Now that's why for me, with all the entertainment he's provided today, all the amazing racing that he's had, for me Crazy Bill has to be driver of the day. To get on the podium after such a crazy race, after such an amazing battle, just can't be beaten. We're going to go on board with Safdar. It looks like he just can't make this work. This is his last chance of an overtake, and he just can't get it to work. He has to go onto the grass, and he just almost spins his car. He wants to say, right, I'm going to keep second place. We're on board with Robbie, who's commanded this race after overtaking Safdar. The Haas does come out on top. It's not Clarky as many people predicted. It is Robbie who comes home in first. Safdar coming home in second. Crazy Bill now about to come across the line in third. He's done very well indeed to come third. I said my driver of the day, certainly. What a lot of people said was going to be a surprise podium. You see Racer Avocado come home in third, Joshy coming home in fourth, FT coming home in fifth. A brilliant race from him considering what happened at the start of it. Then you have Jake Lee, who's had a brilliant race as well, coming home in seventh. I Am Sloth coming home in eighth place. Oh no, he gets up to seventh due to Jake Lee's issues, as well as Sean Joel then coming home in 10th, I believe. I wonder if Callum Tyler, only 4/10 behind, is going to be able to overtake, as we see him get another 3-second time penalty. He's not going to overtake him on penalties, certainly. We'd see him 15 seconds behind. Let's see where he comes out on top. So Callum Tyler in 11th, see him 15 seconds behind on those hard compound tyres, just like I Am Sloth, both of them making that hard compound strategy work after 23 laps. Very well done to both of them. Nick Shasay, who had an amazing qualifying lap, just couldn't pull it out of the bag in the race. Sadly for him, comes home in 15th, 4th, 13th place. There we go for Nick. Wow, I'm surprised I've still got a voice left. Jake Lee gets driver of the day on the game, and that's not surprising. He did do a very good lap to come from good race to come from last down to 7th position, but mine has to go to Crazy Bill on the podium there for such an amazing race alongside Walker, really giving us entertainment for this, an amazing track. As I said, and as I promised at the start, we knew this was going to be a great race, and a great race it was. Brilliant home race there for Crazy Bill. You then have Robbie coming home in first place, an amazing race from Safdar in second. Now we'll get our final classifications, and then we'll say goodbye to what was an amazing race. We have Robbie in first, Safdar in second, and Crazy Bill making the podium in third. Then have Racer Avocado, Joshy Boy, FT, I Am Sloth, Sean, Jake Lee, Joel, Callum Tyler, Siam, Nick, and Charlie in Japan rounding us off. Oh no, VRL Smithy, I do apologise, in 15th, rounding us off as the final runners. You have Extremist, who sadly retired at the end there, who was really on the back of that pack. Walker, who we know retired into the pits because of the 5-second penalty he incurred on hitting on Crazy Bill. You have the Stiff Master in 18th, Clarky in 19th, and Mazaspin coming last, as we always see his namesake doing. Thank you very much to everyone who's joined us. It's been an amazing race to commentate on. It's been an amazing race to watch, and I hope you enjoyed it too. I've been Nat Craig. Please make sure you like and subscribe to this channel for more amazing races like this. Season 2 will be coming up in 5 races time. 5 races, and then we'll be on to the second season with F1 2021. But we're waiting to see exactly how the championship has finished us off here in Season 1. So please keep posted and keep watching us. Thank you very much. I've been Nat Craig. You've been you. Have a good night.